Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And joining us for this week's review is Ant.
Lord of Blood Bowl.
Lord of Blood Bowl.
I'd agree that.
This week we are going to be reviewing a Game of Thrones, the board game 2nd edition. This was released in 2011 by designer Christian T. Peterson, artists Tomasz Jadruszek and Henning Ludvigsson, published by Fantasy Flight Games over here in the States. It plays 3 to 6 players and takes 120 to 240 minutes. Zach, got a rules overview for us?
Yes, I do. In a Game of Thrones, you are one of the 6 great houses of Westeros, vying for control over the Iron Throne. Over 10 rounds, you'll be issuing orders to each of your armies. Marching will allow your armies to invade new lands. Defense helps armies fight off opponents. Support allows you to give assistance to neighboring battles. Raiding allows you to interrupt opponents' plans. And consolidating power will grant you more influence. Invading an enemy's territory will start a battle, with the strength of each army augmented by unique house cards. You will occasionally have to spend your influence at court to get yourself higher on the influence tracks, and by sending forces to help the Night's Watch fight off wildlings. Once one player has acquired 7 castles, they are the winner, and the new king of Westeros, first of their name, king of the Andals and the First Men, lord of the 7 kingdoms, and protector of the realm.
Indeed. Those are the rules. Like your excessive naming there at the end, Zach.
All in.
Yeah.
All in.
Yeah. Well, we're reviewing this because the new season's about to start.
Yes.
Yes.
Also because it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
All good reasons to review a game.
Christian Peterson has made some fucking amazing games.
He has.
Twilight
Yes.
Imperium comes from him. WoW, the board game. StarCraft, the board game. Armada.
I'm sensing a theme.
These are all really good.
Yep.
Great, big, huge battle-based.
He does them well.
Yes.
And then he takes things that people like and then just makes a game out of that people also like.
Yeah. And then they
Yes.
go out of print and you can never buy them again.
Correct.
Like most of these games. So.
All right. Well, to dive into this, what was everyone's thoughts going into the game? This will probably be a little tricky because I'm pretty sure we all played this long before we ever thought we'd be reviewing games.
It's very true. I remember the first time we played it, it was our friend Eldar got a copy.
Yep.
And we ended up going to a friend's house.
Scott.
Scott. And we played 6-player. That one ended up taking 8 hours or something like that. 'Cause
We were there all day.
yeah. But all I know, like, I think I was just getting into Game of Thrones at this point. And so I was like, ooh, a game on Game of Thrones. And I was totally into trying new games. So I was like, yes, 100% yes, I will play that.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much me. I was right in the height of Game of Thrones being the coolest thing on the planet. And, you know, the game night groups we were just starting to get to where we would go meet outside of Wednesdays and play games and new friends, and the idea of hanging out for an entire afternoon, drinking and eating and playing a game where you backstab the hell out of each other. Sign me up.
Ant?
For me, this is actually one of the first modern board games I purchased. Because like in the other episodes I said, Agricola, Power Grid, and Game of Thrones was my first big purchase, and I got it all at once. We played for Open to Close at Great Divide.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yep. So,
Not
I don't
really.
know. I didn't really have any major expectations going in. I just knew that I was going to lose some friends.
So you're saying you could have gone on any hunting trip for a boar at any time. Am I the only one that has played the first edition?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I had played the first edition to fuck and back.
Because it came out in what, 2001?
2003.
Okay.
The year I graduated fucking high school.
Yeah, mine as well. My significant other and I played a lot of it with her brothers, and they were huge into Game of Thrones, the books and such. So I had played this game long before the show was twinkle in HBO's eye. And they were huge into the books, so I actually learned a lot about Game of Thrones and such from the original first edition, and everything about the second edition just looked crazy better than the 2003 edition, being as this came out in 2011.
Yeah, that was once Fantasy Flight upped their. It was like around 2005, 2007 is when their quality and like their art and stuff started to go up a lot.
Yeah,
so.
I was showing you all pictures of the first edition earlier than that. Zach was just in awe of like, oh my god.
Yeah, this is gross.
Yeah, second edition far superior.
Yes, it is.
Indeed, maybe.
I mean, it's far superior to the first edition. Is our current
Who knows?
talking about?
Uh,
I know because I'm the only one that played first.
All right. So let's start off with components. This game's got some solid components.
It's got a lot of them too.
It does have a lot of them. So the board itself is really solid. This is probably the one of the few areas where I'm not sure I agree that the second edition is far superior. I do think it is better. It's more artistic in the board layout. It's a little bit darker, and there's definitely a lot more going on.
The first edition is much more colorful board.
Yes, it's a brighter, more colorful board, which doesn't necessarily fit the theme.
No, yeah.
The main thing that kind of leads me to like still liking the first edition's board, which I've never played with, but just looking at the pictures, it reminds me of the mod for damn it. Of course, this always happens. There's a PC game that I really like.
I like that you asked yourself a question and you couldn't answer it.
Yep.
But what is that question? First of all,
There's a video game on Steam that I really, really enjoy that has a great Game of Thrones mod.
Crusader Kings 2.
Also, yes, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Mountain Blade.
Oh yes, Mountain Blade does have one.
Mountain Blade Warband has a fantastic Game of Thrones fan mod, and the map of that reminds me a lot more of the map of the first edition, so I kind of like it.
Okay.
I definitely agree that I'm definitely on the opinion that the second edition is way better.
Yeah.
The first edition is too cartoony, too erratic.
I mean, it's very early board game enthusiast level. I mean, Catan came out, 95? This is 8 years later.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The second edition just feels like a map. Feels like a scrolled on map.
Yes.
Yeah, this one doesn't look much map.
And I would have to say the first edition is 0% influenced by the show, which the second edition is clearly influenced by the
which
show.
actually makes me prefer the card art better, like the character art. I
Yes.
like it more not being influenced by the show.
Yeah.
Especially because the show really fucked with some... Like, Tyrion is not nearly as handsome in the books as he is in the show.
Correct.
The books clearly make him out to be a monster.
Yes.
So, whereas in the show, he's like a handsome dwarf with a scar.
He didn't get his nose fucking cut off in the show.
Correct.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I would typically agree. Component-wise, the second edition is definitely better. I like the acrylic game pieces, and the way they're kind of got a vaguely marbled texture, like a set of dice, like some of the D&D
Yeah,
dice
those
that
things look really nice.
Yeah. And it kind of lends to the idea that like it's a map on the board and you're the heads of the houses plotting your troop movements, and like those are like the marble pieces
Right.
you're using to indicate troops and stuff like that.
And it's really easy to tell the difference between a knight and a regular soldier, and then the siege towers and the boats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really easy to even though they're all the same color, it's just at a glance you can be like, okay.
Correct.
Stannis had a real nice map.
There is a whole lot of cardboard pieces.
Yeah.
But it's all solid cardboard. I don't think we ever noticed any issues over the multiple times that we've played this game.
I mean, my game's probably had over a dozen plays on it, and I really haven't seen any chips or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm maybe starting to consider sleeving the cards by this point, but no problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other component thoughts, artwork thoughts, anything else anyone wants to chime in?
Second edition still better than first.
Yeah. I like the card art a lot. And the cards are nice and fantasy flight card stock sort of shit.
Yeah. I mean, the component-wise, the only complaint I have is like I did like the non-influenced HBO art from the first edition, much like the Lord of the Rings, like original art, pre and post movie. I do like the first edition's art better, but everything else in second edition is real nice.
Right on.
I like the player screens too, because apparently the first edition didn't come with those.
Oh no, you just had like, I gotta hide this in my hand while I see which fucking raid has the star on it. Oh,
Yeah, I agree. The player screens are definitely a nice little addition. You have your little cheat sheet on the back. It says your starting locations, and you can hide all your tokens.
Yeah, it helps to set up a lot because you could just hand everybody like, wait, okay, which faction do you want to play? Or you can do them randomly, and then they can look at the back of their player board and they can do most of their own setup themselves.
yeah. It was just like hide these round tokens in your hand as well as you can.
Plus, with the player screens, they kind of look like big castles. So
Yeah.
it's like you're hiding behind your castle, like
Yes.
a cowardly Baratheon would do.
Yes, the cowardly Baratheons.
Yep.
That's what they're known
Yeah,
for.
yeah. Good old Bobby B. He was always known as a coward. He was just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to mess with that guy. He seems tough. That's yeah.
I feel like Zach played Baratheons almost every time we played because I have an unnatural hatred of Baratheons, which could
what
only
are you,
come from
what are you-
Zach playing them.
What are you, Targaryen?
I'm a Stark. I played
Okay.
Starks most of the time.
They were friends.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be.
I didn't do anything.
Like
I'm sure you did nothing. Zach.
I did nothing.
Sure, you
No.
did nothing. Anyhow,
I'm sure it wasn't one of the many games in which I betrayed you. Definitely couldn't do that.
Certainly not. Took advantage of my trust as a friend.
No, I'd never do that, Adrian. Don't worry. You can believe me. I'd never do
I can't even say it with a straight
No, I
face
can't.
anymore.
No.
All right, so yeah, that pretty much covers components. Rules and rules explanation. There's a lot of rules.
Can't even say that with a straight face,
No.
can you?
How many
because-
games have you played wrong in a row?
In a
Four?
row? Probably our first 4 for
Yeah.
sure. It was always
Yes.
this is one of those games where every time we played, it was like somebody would glance at a rule and be like, guys, I got bad news. We played this wrong
Yeah.
last time.
Like, once you learn the rules, I think it's easy enough to teach other people.
At least someone will know that one rule.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
be like, no, wrong.
Yeah,
Please
but
stop.
But it just took one, like reading one sentence wrong, and we were playing basically completely wrong the entire time.
Yeah.
The main way that we were playing wrong was when you lay down all of your orders, when you flip them over, you do them in a specific order. You do raid first, and then you do the marches, and then you do consolidate power. And you're supposed to do, like, say I was first. I do one march, Adrian does one march, then you do one march. What we would do is be like, oh, I'm first. I'm going to do my 3 march orders, and then Adrian's going to do his 3. And then if we went all the way down to fucking 6 people, like, that person might have, like, 1 march order left. And I think the very first time we played, I'm going to raid your march order.
That's fucked.
It was.
So those are the two. I feel like even the first time we played, though, I don't think we even got that we were supposed to do the things in specific orders. I think it was like, all right, your first player, do all of your things
That's-
in this order.
Yeah.
So you did your raid.
That might-
you
I think
did
that's
your
why it
march,
took us
you did your
8 hours the first
consolidation.
Well, it
time.
took me 8 hours too, but we didn't do that fucking
Yeah.
wrong.
And then
We enjoyed it. I'll say this though. We enjoyed it the entire
It was
time
a
we
fun
played.
game.
Because then, like, the second time we played, we were like, oh, wait, guys, no, we're supposed to each do each phase. So then it was like, player 1, do all of your raid.
Yep.
Player 2, do all of your raid, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like, the fourth time we played,
I
it was
remember.
like,
I think I was the one looking at it, and I was just like, "Holy shit!"
guys, we fucked up again.
Just loud. Holy shit.
And then we played it, and we're like, "This is a lot different."
And then for a while we were playing where raids could raid everything. And then, yeah, once we finally started playing by the actual right rules, like,
Yeah.
I mean, luckily we discovered the rules in the right progression where it just, like, the game stayed fun. It wasn't like we played them wrong to where it broke it and we were like, fuck this, we're
Yeah.
never playing again.
Yeah.
Like, it was still fun enough to keep playing, and, like, we'd find out a wrong rule and we're like, ooh, we need to play again with the right rule. That sounds even better. And sure enough, like, as we played with more and more of the correct rules,
Yes.
the game was better.
It got more balanced.
Playing with rules correctly is important to enjoying games. Who knew?
Weird.
This is why you should play games multiple times as well.
No. Just one Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just make judgments, concrete judgments right on that.
Yes.
I'm gonna write it in stone.
Yeah. I do agree, Zach. I think that the rules, once somebody actually knows the correct rules, a lot of them make sense and are easy to kind of explain. The game flows in a pretty reasonable way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's about it for rules explanations. Besides, I don't know.
I mean, I think it takes
There's so much minutia to this game that you have to
Yeah.
like play it instead of telling. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely like Twilight Imperium-esque where we just skip the rules explanation altogether during the review.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we could go way into some.
Yeah, I feel like
ridiculous
you
stuff.
could you could teach this game in 20, 25 minutes to people.
But you
and then it's that's a now you have training wheels to be able to play this game, and then you try and help them out during the thing, and then like all the cards have unique abilities, and it sucks for new people because they don't know, like if they're playing Greyjoy, they won't know that Baratheon could have something that could fuck them up, or that Lannister does and stuff like that. And this is definitely a game, in my opinion at least, where it gets better once you've played it a couple times and you get to learn some of those other things.
a lot
I
of
think,
these.
I think that's a great way to play it, though, is when you don't know what the other houses can do.
Right.
because you can make mistakes and the
Yeah.
people can actually play off some of those real big cards. But it's like with when you're saying like, all right, time for the train wheels to come off, you have a dagger in your hand and you stab him right in the chest. Train wheels are off. Oh, my heart.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it's also like if someone's playing a Stark, they need to play very differently than if they're playing Greyjoy or Tyrell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like memorizing every card because know I know some people like they printed out rule guides that have all the cards listed on there, so you can always be like, well, what does Martell have? Do anything the fuck up,
I would say that would only be useful if you were in a veteran game of a bunch of people always playing this game, and that you were all on the same
Well, even then, if you had a cheat sheet of the 2 closest houses can do.
Yeah. I know for me, like I definitely don't try and memorize them, but it's like Martell, like I remember the 0 card because how fucked up it is.
Sure.
There's like each of them have 1 or 2 where it's just like, oh yeah, those are messed up.
The Greyjoys have their one where it's like reduce your opponent's card to 0.
Yep.
See, I'm a card counter, and I specifically intentionally make sure I do not even remember my own house's cards. Like I'll pick something, and then I'll read those cards that one time, and then I'll do the best I can to not think about what was played against me.
Right.
So I think that can move us on to gameplay.
which is most of this game.
Yes.
Backstab, the game.
Yeah. I know some people have called this like a diplomacy killer.
Yes.
And I also, like, for me, like, view it as like a risk killer or like a small world. Like for me, most area control games after I played this one, I was like, I would rather just play that over there.
Yeah, I feel like there's not really this is probably one of the few area control games, area control games that I actually really like.
Yeah. It doesn't have, well, it has bouts of randomness, but like all the combat and stuff is not random. It is purely based on what your opponent plays versus what you play. And so you can
there's variability.
There's variability, but you can overwhelm with strength. You can go. You can have 10 strength and attack somebody with 1, and you know there's nothing they can do about it. You're going to win.
As long as you exclude the Tides of Battle.
Yes. Oh, I've never played with those, and I never want to play with those.
I have never played, and I never want to.
Nope.
Because basically those are just, you flip over a card, and it's just like, oh, you get +1 and the other guy gets -1, or you lose a guy and the other guy, and it is just messed up. As someone who loves randomness, I think that does not have a place in this game.
Get a little too brutal of, like, I clearly have the advantage and I lost because of this card.
Because this game is supposed to be like the main area for uncertainty in this game should come from like, is this person I've allied with going to betray me? Not, am I going to get fucked on a card draw?
Because the map is small enough. Because the best way to play this game is with a full accoutrement, a full six people.
A full accoutrement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can pronounce it right. So because I know Paul likes that. You say it right.
God damn it.
That's why I got popularity.
Yeah. That's why you got third.
The gentleman's third.
The gentleman's third. At least I didn't get second.
It's true. Like a bitch.
He got the Jeffy.
He did. He got the Jeffy.
I got a free reroll on a 50%.
Yep.
That'll be a lot of use on the show.
Yes, it will. But yeah, when you're playing with the full 6 people in this game, after one turn, the board immediately feels crowded. And so you need to ally with it, like at least one of your neighbors if you can't somehow ally with another one.
Yeah.
And then
they're shaky alliances.
Exactly. Because pretty much there's only one winner, and then if like your partner you have 6 and you see your partner has a castle that's somewhat defended, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to go walk over there and take that for the win, or even 5 stuff like that.
Win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although, I've definitely, and this is one of the vague problems I have with this game because of the way alliances and stuff in this work, you run into king making. Like, there'll be some, person who's clearly not going to win. The game's been going for a while, and they're like, all right, well, fuck you, Jeff. You're not taking any of my castles, but Zach, I'll leave this one that's along our common border strategically undefended.
I mean, for at least a little bit, I sort of view that as because houses would allow each other to to get them to.
Yeah. So now I'm in with the king, and now I'm going to get the strategic marriages and gain influence, whereas Jeff can continue to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
As is tradition.
But I think that's just part of it's just part of the game. I really don't know what they could do to stop that.
No, and there's not really anything. If king making is something that's super going to piss you off, don't play this game.
I mean,
because
someone's trying to become the king of Westeros.
I've certainly claimed moral victories in games where I did not win.
Yes,
Because,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yes, I helped, you, Eldar, ascend to the throne at the, expense of Zach and everyone else who was playing.
Well, it's like the recent game that we were playing, Ant, where it was like Bob was helping you, and like I was like, "Fuck, if Ant gets another castle, he's gonna win." And I literally was I couldn't do shit. Because I was the Tyrells, and then Bob was Lannisters, and Wesley was the Martells, and then Paul was a little Baratheon, the tiny little Baratheon right there. But basically, everybody surrounded me except for the Starks, and I was just like, I want to be able to stop him, but I can't do shit.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. But try and convince other people to attack him, but then some people don't always do that.
When you guys played your most recent play, did you play entirely at the table, or did you allow people to step away to make alliances?
So, according to the rules, everything has to be at the table.
Okay.
But
that was something else we did not play by when we played initially. For a while, we had people stepping off into side rooms to make deals. And then at one point we decided to do it with text so that you could see somebody typing.
Bullshit.
Yeah. You could, it was funny because you'd see somebody typing, and then one other phone would go.
So that is a rule I would love if it was via written note,
So
where you see someone pass someone a note.
So you had an idea of what alliances may or may not.
So
be
here's
ruined.
the question: if you're pretend you're about to hand him a note. Pretend you're about to hand him a note. Arrow. Bam. And then I just look at it.
Slap.
Oh, okay. I see what you want to do, Jeff.
I shot that crow down, and now I know your battle plan.
Raven, you monster. It's not Messenger Crow.
Yep.
Do you even watch the show?
No, this is a feast of ravens right here.
Yeah.
So the way that I've always played it is if you leave the table, things can be said when you're gone, and fuck you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You go to the bathroom, fuck you. You're gonna be the one that we all get against. You go outside to pay the pizza guy, fuck you. You should have thought about that.
You should have made some.
Yeah.
Everybody sitting at the table. Who's going to pay the pizza?
Well, I know when we were playing.
I'll give you the money
when we
to
played
pay
our
the
game.
pizza guy.
When I think when it was when I was teaching these other two people the game. You leaned over to Bob and you're like, "Hey, you want to go help me do this thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And we didn't even fucking realize it because he was busy.
I leaned to Bob and said, "I don't give a shit if you win, as long as Paul loses."
Paul's going to be thrilled to hear that.
Oh, he already knew that.
Well, I defended well against Bob, and Bob, he couldn't have stopped me in a single turn. So if he tried to, then it wouldn't have mattered. Because I could have defended him, but he couldn't do it in one turn.
It just felt wrong. The Lannisters and the Starks allying.
Before I could even decline that because I was working when they played that last game, Ant had texted me I'm gonna king make the shit out of you. I was like, I can't play. I have to work.
Yep.
And then Paul got ruined.
He did. Yeah.
The only reason he wasn't even eliminated was because I think Ant felt a little sorry for him.
No, actually, it was because Wes stopped me.
Oh.
I was going for the kill, and Wes blocked it in. I was like, all right, fuck it, we're just going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, because he could just win that turn. Because he technically could have won the turn before that. And then, but
he wanted to ruin
I
Paul
tried.
even more.
And then Wes just stalled me, so I killed Wes instead.
Okay. All right.
So this game is very swingy based on the whims of the people you're playing with, which is a good thing to keep in mind.
You
when
can play
decide who the hell to play with.
You can play the mechanics, or you can play the game.
No, this is
players.
you want to play the players for this one.
Yes.
But on the same aspect, on that specific game, I told Bob that, and my whole objective was to kill Paul for the previous Blood Bowl match we played. Unrelated, I guess. But I well defended against Bob, and he could not have stopped me in a single turn. So if he had turned against me, he couldn't have taken advantage of the situation.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He was definitely in a position to win. That nobody really could have stopped him.
The best he could have got was the undefended land next to my castles, and at that point, then I would have turned against Bob. So Bob was definitely at a disadvantage.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that pretty much covers gameplay.
No.
There's
still a lot of stuff to talk about.
What else do you guys have to talk about gameplay?
Well, you have to bid on those 3 tracks that give you massive amounts of advantage if you're at the
do
top
that.
of. You can have the Iron Throne, the Valerian Steel Sword,
Yep.
or the Messenger Raven.
So the Iron Throne is turn order, which can be very, especially near the end of the game, can be super important. But also whoever has the Iron Throne basically gets to break all ties except for combat, which is, this is where alliances mean a lot. Because if you get in good with the king, he'll look out for you.
You might have an all right time.
Yeah.
There's so many. He is the tiebreaker chooser.
Yep.
Yeah, so he chooses, if there's a tie, he chooses who wins the
Exactly, yes. And then, so the sword, that's the fiefdom track, and that is for combat ties, because the king doesn't decide that. So it means if I have 7 strength and Jeff has 7 strength,
If you're higher on that
if you're
track.
higher up, you win.
Yep.
And the whoever is number 1 has the sword, which can add a +1
to one battle.
to
per
one battle.
round.
But it means that basically, if Jeff, you're fighting against me and I have the sword, it's like you need to beat me by 2 because otherwise I can make us tie
Throw the
and
sword
then I win. Yeah, exactly.
Unless I throw out like a ton of ties, and then it's sort of like, yeah, you can win one, but what about all these others?
Yes. Yeah. And then the the King's Court. That's the one that gets you the stars, because each of those marching orders, like there's a defense +1, but then the star defense is defense +2.
Yes.
There's a march -1, a march 0, and then a march +1, which is the star one. So all the star ones are better versions of them.
And you're limited to them depending on how high up on that track you are.
Yes.
Which also varies based on player count.
Yes.
Yeah. With 5 or 6 players, either 1 or 2 people just won't have any stars.
Yes.
And then if it's like 4 or 3,
Which you should never do.
no, exactly. Then it's like only 1 person. But yeah, those get super important. And there are 3 decks of cards that come out at the start of each round. And they have a random amount of things that could happen. Sometimes it's everybody gets to muster, which is you get to bring in extra troops depending on what castles you have. So
You get more dudes.
you want to have more castles because that's going to get you more dudes on the board. There's one where you want to update supply because all of your armies have to maintain their supply lines. So if you have a supply of 2, it's like you can have an army of 3 and then an army of 2, and everything else has to be just single soldiers. Whereas if you have a supply of 5, that's like you get a 4, an army of 4, and then a 3.
4, a 3, and 2 twos.
Yes. So more supply means that you have a humongous army. And one thing that I really like is that for that at least is that once you update supply, if you lose that supply, because those are various areas on the board. If you lose that supply on the board, you don't have to update your supply again until you get the card that says update it.
Yes.
But fuck, when that card comes up and you're like,
You're risking.
oh no, I just went down 3, and because if you ever have to break it, you have to kill guys.
Yep, pull 'em off.
And you're just like, oh fuck, I have 4 knights there, and I can only have a 3 now.
Yep. Your
Shit.
army has broken, and they are wandering off into the woods to
Yep.
find mushrooms.
Exactly.
Because they're starving.
Yeah, and then there are also cards that are going to be like, oh, the iron, the person who owns the Iron Throne gets to decide these 2 things, or whoever has the Raven, or whoever has the sword.
Yeah.
And then that's also how the wildlings come into play, because there are certain symbols. It's a mammoth.
Yep.
Mammoth skull that'll appear on some of those cards, and basically that means the wildlings are gaining strength. And then either once you get a card that says wildlings attack, or it goes up to 12, they're at full strength, and then they attack the wall. And then we have to send troops to go help it, and that's where
Yep.
our influence
In the
comes.
forms of influence.
Yeah.
And so the person who has the Raven, they can choose to like either swap one of their orders out, or they can tend to look at the wildling deck or like the top card, and they can choose to either keep it on top there or put it underneath. And so they get to know what's coming, sort of, because when you're fighting the wildlings, it should, if it's a strength of 8 and all 4 of us give 2, then we've won because we've matched their strength.
Yeah.
And then whoever bid the most gets something better.
But whoever bid the least,
If you lose, so say we all bid 2, but it's actually 10, because fucking Paul over here was like, "Fuck you guys, I don't want to bid at all."
Yep.
Then everybody loses something, but whoever bid the least
gets real fucked.
gets real fucked. So if the messenger Raven, they see that it's like, oh, if I get fucked, it'll hurt everybody else, but it won't hurt me for whatever reason. They're like, I don't have to fucking do shit.
and the wildlings affecting everyone so much is kind of a little weird, but it's for balancing clearly.
Yes.
Like, the wildlings aren't making it to fucking Dorne.
No. The Martells really don't give a shit about
Yeah,
them.
no, they don't. But to make the game balanced, you definitely have to have a get fucked mechanic.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Get fucked mechanic.
No, yeah.
It's like,
definitely.
I'm the fucking Martells. They got to go, I don't know, through 4 different other houses to even
Yep.
get to me. Well, one did, and it killed someone important.
Yeah. And then one thing about the bidding in this game too is that whenever you bid for something, you lose whatever you bid because you're not trying to determine a winner. You're determining an order. And so, especially like on the influence tracks, if I bid 2, but then Adrian bids 4, he's going to get higher than me. But those cards that allow us to bid on the influence tracks, those sort of come out randomly, and like because there's certain ones depending on which part of the deck that you're on. And I feel like I've almost seen 2 of those influence track ones came out at around the same time. I think I'd have.
I don't know.
Maybe if not that, then like in subsequent rounds. So it was like in round 4 we had to bid on the track, and then on round 5 you had to bid on the track.
Yeah, that I could believe.
And so that's where it's like you don't want to spend all of your power, because if you get a lot, you could technically get all 3 of them if you want. You could get all the sword, the throne, and the raven. But then next turn, it's like, oh, we get to bid again, and you're like, I don't have any tokens now.
I'm dead last.
Fuck.
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I've definitely had a game where there was a person that won all 3 tracks because everyone bid everything they had. Mm-hmm. And they had nothing on a bid. And they're like, I will put 2. And you have maybe 1.
Right,
and then after that, they knew that nothing was there. Like, I'll bid 1.
Yep.
And they had all 3.
Oh yeah,
That's rough.
It is rough, yeah. So that's where that management of getting those tokens and using them, but because you also, when you're moving an army out of a province, if you want to retain control of that province, you have to take one of those tokens and put them on the board. And
Right.
you can't grab that again until somebody invades that province and takes it from you. So
Everything's finite.
yes. So it makes it pretty interesting.
Yep.
There's also, you have your house heroes and stuff that you can use to modify a lot of things.
Yes.
That's in combat. Yeah, we already kind of talked about. You play your cards to modify your strength value. So, like, yeah, you might be thinking you're winning with a 3-1 combat
then
based on
Sir
the troops, but then your opponent,
Gregor Clegane comes out.
yeah,
Yep. And killing troops is not actually a major part of combat.
No, because most of the time troops will retreat, and so they'll just retreat to an adjacent area as long as they don't break your supply line requirements.
Yes.
And so they'll be available the next turn. So sometimes you can even plan on strategic retreats and stuff like that so that you can attack somewhere else or move your troops in a different way.
Because sometimes you can attack people and make them, because once you use a card, you can't get it again until you've gone through your entire deck. And so you can sometimes, do like 2 or 3 attacks on one thing just to wear them down to make them use cards that they may want to save in order to make sure you can't get that area.
Yeah.
Which I know that's what you were doing to Paul.
I was definitely baiting him on that, for sure.
So you were fucking Paul.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was real rough on Paul.
Came in through the fingers, and it was just, yeah.
Uh-huh. That's a place on the map
Yep.
named
is.
the Fingers.
It's in the Eyrie.
Yeah.
Erie?
Eerie.
Eyrie.
I said Erie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adrian gets it wrong once again. Hash mark right there.
I
at
don't
the top.
trust that you 3 are right on the pronunciation of that.
It's 3-1. Can't trust it.
Vote.
Yeah, we can do a majority opinion podcast. I vote Adrian's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Arms
Yep.
up.
Fuck 'em.
Yep.
Yep.
You lost.
Yep.
Oh, darn.
Learn to pronounce things.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. You, of all people.
I'll throw stones in glass houses all I want.
But yeah, I mean, this game, like you said, like we go into how every little aspect of the game is played, like really in depth, but really most of this game is from the interaction of the players.
Yes.
The mechanics themselves aren't that complicated. There's a little bit of randomness in what should the era cards come out,
But that's
each
about
turn.
it. Yeah.
And then the wildling deck's a little random.
Yeah. The era cards are nice. A nice randomization to the game that can change things up. Much like you could see political and action cards in Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
They also do a lot to keep the game from getting repetitive because you don't know, like one game you might get a whole bunch of muster cards to where everybody is troop rich and has a lot of troops. Whereas in another game that doesn't happen and everybody barely has any troops and you're trying to, fight.
Scrounge.
Scrounge and scratch.
Because there's pretty much only one way to muster if that card isn't up, and that's using the Consolidate Power Star card or Star Order. And it sucks when you're the one or two houses that can't use a star, and just mustering does not come up because you're just like, you keep losing troops from fighting, and he's just like, I need,
better.
yeah, you just need something.
Last game that we played, there was way too many musters.
Yeah.
Too many troops on the board.
It was ridiculous. I think we had 5 musters.
Yep. And then also because it was only 5 players, everybody tended to have more castles, which meant more people.
Yeah, but I mean that's where troop limits kind of come into play because you might be getting
We
a lot.
had a lot of resupply.
Yeah, we did.
Then
it was the most troop heavy game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
and some games will be that way.
Exactly,
And some
yeah.
will be really troop thin, and it'll be like, oh my gosh, half of my territory is just controlled with influence tokens because I don't have enough troops for it.
I have like one night, and he's just sort of looking over 4 positions and be like, I hope nobody comes over here.
At least I've got a horse.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I think we're ready for final thoughts.
On the base game, yeah, I think so.
Indeed.
All right, Zach, what are your final thoughts?
If it wasn't real, I really do like this game. Right now I'm trying to decide between this and Blood Rage as my favorite area control game. I think it's going to lean towards this one just because of the
Blood Rage is awful.
Ooh.
the political intrigue, or the intrigue and backstabbiness that this adds.
You don't make a lot of backdoor deals in Blood Rage.
No, you do not.
You're making any.
And so I think overall that, like, I don't think I'd ever want to play Risk again, and I'm also not a big fan of Small World, but I wouldn't want to play that again. This is definitely my go-to for an area control style game, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the fact of the theme. Like, I really do. I really love the theme, and I feel that it works really well within the mechanics of the game, and it just. I'm really glad I got a chance to play it, and I was really glad I ended up winning the game. And I after playing this again, I was like, man, I need to play this game more.
Yeah. For me, I think one of the main knocks for this game is that it can drag on with all of the player interaction, like sitting there and discussing things. That's gotten better when we don't let people leave to discuss plans.
Yes.
When you play by the rules, where everybody talks about things at the table. There is still some room for people to agonize over decisions when you have a full hand of player cards and you're trying to decide who to play in a battle, or just trying to decide which orders you want to give your troops each round. So the game can drag on a little bit. It is, like I mentioned, a game where king making and things like that are almost a part of the game. It's like a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
You don't always have the goal of winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes you're going to get in a position where it's like, well, I'm clearly not going to win. How can I still make this interesting for me?
Yeah.
Which then can suck if you're second place. And what's interesting for third and fourth place is to see you not win, because then you're going to have a hard time.
No, and I think that's part of the alliances in the game, is that if you aren't able to overcome those, then it's like you didn't deserve to win.
Well, and that's where this game fits the theme. Like, I mean, if you've watched Game of Thrones or read the Game of Thrones books,
Song of Ice and Fire.
Song of Ice and Fire, colloquially known as Game of Thrones.
Better.
If you've watched the series or read the books, then you know that they're all about political intrigue and backdoor, sneaky dealings and betrayals and all of that.
And
it comes
paragraphs
through.
after paragraph of
Food.
Yep.
Lots and lots of food
Yes.
discussion. A lot of moraid eels.
Yeah.
Or not moraid eels, something eels.
Yeah.
They don't, whatever.
Banquet tables.
Weird food.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this game. I think it is easily my favorite area control game. I haven't played it nearly as recently. I didn't get a chance to play a fresh game for this review, but I've played it a bunch. Yeah, I like it. I would be interested in getting it back to the table.
This, for me, fits a same hole as Twilight Imperium does, except one's Game of Thrones and one is Twilight Imperium. It's hard to describe, but I enjoy the backdoor deals, and it's more player based than mechanics based, and it's hard to find a game that can really fit that. And those are some of my favorite styles of games.
When they do it well.
Yes. Yeah, Game of Thrones. I don't know. Game of Thrones is real good.
Yeah,
Play it.
I think a lot of it is that it doesn't like it. Once you learn the rules and stuff, it's not that complicated.
No.
So it doesn't feel bogged down by some of those things. You get to have like the experiences come out from that. I think.
You put discs down on the board,
Yeah.
and then things happen, and then you move on when you got totally boned, and try and make the best of it. This is definitely, I don't know, smaller in scope than like Twilight Imperium.
Oh yeah, definitely. Way smaller.
But I put them in the same category of style of game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Ant, what do you think?
So for me, I've played 12 times and I've only won twice. So it's not necessarily about winning. It's the gameplay itself that makes it very entertaining for me. And like I said, the only 2 times that I've won has been because I was on a carnage, bloodthirsty rampage. And people just happened to not be able to stop me. And it was just super cutthroat. And it just magically worked out because of luck. Every other time that I've actually tried to win through logic, I've lost. I've lost real bad. I almost won on turn 6 every time, and then I lose real bad. Whoever is in first is probably going to end up in third.
Yeah, this is definitely a game where you don't want to push, push yourself too far too quickly because it. Like,
I'm in first. Fuck all of you.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha.
can't
Oh
seem
God, I'm
powerful.
dying.
Once you seem powerful, then you seem extended and you seem weak.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Well, because usually you are extended and then you are weak.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
that's why you get lucky with 6 musters and then you're good to go.
exactly. Yeah.
It's all about making, and same for like a game like Twilight Imperium. Like a lot of that, like is all about making the push at the right time.
Yep.
And that's why I don't know if I would play Twilight Imperium because 12 hours for me to get really angry at one guy. I don't
Which it's interesting to me. We love games like this. We hate games like Munchkin when they are basically the same. Oh, you're about to win. We're all going to shit on you until
But
whoever's in third.
Game of
sneaks out
Thrones
a
last
win.
10 turns.
What if it took 10 times longer?
Munchkin takes his.
What if Game of Thrones went until like diplomacy style where you like need everything?
Yeah. Because this does have a finite. I've never seen it go to finite amount, but
10 rounds?
I think 4 of my games have gone around 10.
Oh, really? Wow.
And those are like probably our best games.
Oh, okay.
And it was just such high contention. Like you get like 5 and then the alliances swap and then everyone like trades and you're like you start going up and down and those are very tense games.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you are interested in Game of Thrones, the board game 2nd edition, it is available. You can get it on Amazon, Card House, places like that for about $50. Seems to be the going rate.
Miniature Market, I think, had the best deal, like $46. Some places are out of stock.
yeah. But it's definitely worth it for 46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But make sure you can get 6 people to the table to play.
Yep.
You could probably get away with 5.
No, so the board is so balanced around 6 players that once you take one person out, it means that it's easier for like 2 other people to expand
Into that person's.
but it doesn't affect like the other 3 people, and then
This AI person that no one really has any connection to
Yeah.
was just murdered, and no one cares.
Yeah.
Where if it's an actual player,
yeah,
there's going to be some shit.
yes,
The way that I normally play Fireplay is just like imagine Greyjoy is a big body of
Void.
water.
Yeah.
And if Greyjoy was in the last game, there's 0% chance that I would have won.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
because Lannister's like too far away to deal with Stark from the beginning, and Baratheon didn't know how to deal with you, and so that allowed you to expand too rapidly that us on the southern half couldn't combat against.
And the suggestion for 5-player is Martell.
Yeah, but that makes it too easy for
It's way too
Baratheon and
easy.
Tyrell.
And there's just open land on the bottom that no one can get to.
Which is a huge amount of land.
Yeah.
Rather than one island going missing. The only problem is that you don't have the forces that are bottlenecked into having to fight their way out, not fighting you.
Yes.
Yep. And then as it goes lower, like certain parts of the map just become inaccessible. I think after 4 players, like Martell isn't. You can't do Martell at all, and Tyrell is just neutral. And then you can technically go down to 3 players, but
And
really it's 6 players or bust, I think.
I do have to applaud them for making a game that can play 6 players and is designed for 6 players.
Yes.
Which is not easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got some expansions, which are some of them are available.
Feast for Crows.
And a Dance with Dragons.
Dance with Dragons.
These are to print on demand. It's basically just new cards.
Yep.
So the first one, which is the first one?
A Dance with Dragons.
Dance Dragons.
That one adds basically new house cards that sort of updates the game to where they are at the beginning of that book.
The most recent book.
No.
Dance with Dragons is absolutely the most recent
It
book,
is, but I don't know if that's where they actually update positions too.
which is weird.
Yeah, naming conventions.
Feast for Crows, then Dance with Dragons. Are you sure Feast for Crows wasn't actually the first expansion?
Dance
I
with
guarantee you,
Dragons
because it
definitely was
says
the first one.
2013 right on the front, and that says 2012.
And it says A Dance with Dragons is the first expansion for Game of Thrones.
Weird.
Well,
Not
yeah.
in the same book order.
Ah,
Nope.
well.
Nope. But then,
Almost like book order doesn't matter for a board game.
yeah.
Weird. Nonetheless.
And this one also adds a new setup for 6 players to reflect where they were at the book.
Which is super interesting.
It is.
It definitely adds some variability, especially if you've played this for over a dozen times.
Yeah, so 3 of my games were with the Dance with Dragons, and it is so much better. Like, you basically start in someone's face instead of the one. So if you're teaching people the game, definitely play the base game. Gives you a little bit of time to move around.
You have one turn before
a little
you're
bit
in
of time.
everybody's
One
face.
turn. A Dance with Dragons is basically you can go into combat right away.
Like Baratheons are up, in the north and shit like that. So.
Okay.
It's
By
definitely
the
better.
wall?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely better. It is a quicker game as well because there's immediate confrontation, and they give you a bunch of new cards that allow you to interact a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, I saw some of them and they looked pretty interesting. Yeah, like look at Tyrell and shit like that.
Yeah, so you're completely around King's Landing as Tyrell.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a
Can you see
more
those?
advanced game. It's definitely more
Dude, fuck
Interactive.
Starks in that game.
Well, I mean, the Starks got pretty shit on.
Yeah, Starks got pretty fucked in general. Spoilers, Starks got real fucked in Game of Thrones.
Stark's one of my favorite houses to start out in the base game. In this game, that looks like a serious fuck you proposition.
Yeah.
I like how Greyjoys are like, we're just like in this entire house. Like half of the water is ours.
You know what? We have a lot of boats, and that's how we're going to start it.
Yep.
So it's definitely a much more interesting game, but you need someone,
I
you need
definitely
people
wanna try
that
those
have at
next
least
time,
played
yeah.
once.
Yeah, I can see how that would require some experience too.
Yeah, I've lost all of that expansion for sure.
And so the other expansion is A Feast for Crows, and that one adds a 4-player variant and it introduces House Aaron, right?
Yeah.
But it's a 4-player one that is based around objectives versus getting castles.
Okay.
Which is
it's
kinda
not just
weird.
first
Yeah,
7.
yeah. It was definitely interesting when I played it.
So you start as the 4 different houses, and again, it's a little bit a wider starting area, but instead of gaining castle control, you have miscellaneous objectives, and it could be something as simple as control this one area, but it's different point allocation depending on what house you are. So all the houses get to draw from the same deck, and every card with the objectives has 4 different point values.
Depending on the house.
So if you are Stark, it might be easier for you to get something in the north than
Right.
it would be for the Lannisters.
Yeah.
So you'd have different kind of point objectives. And it kind of changes the game because you can have a solid strategy, and then all of a sudden you draw one card and it says, oh, hey, that alliance that you had, well, fuck them. Let's go get those points because now I can have that objective. So it's kind of harder to have a overall strategy or overall plan for board control when all of a sudden you're the 3 cards in your hand that says your 3 objectives have nothing to do about where you are.
Gotcha.
And some have pretty crazy variable point values, depending on how hard
Sure.
it is for you to be able to do
3
as that
points for the
house.
Starks to own King's Landing.
Yeah, control the
Something like that.
Eyrie, 4 points for Lannister.
Which
Like, and
one of the 2 times I won was I again went cutthroat on this one guy, and he was the Eyrie, and I was Stark.
0
Yeah.
points for Aaron.
Because they already have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can change like that. But the one time I won this was I was just gutting out this one guy's army, and it just happened to be every objective I drew was max points for me having areas in the area.
Huh. Expansions?
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, and it does actually make it a good 4-player with that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely different than the main game, but not in a bad way.
No, some would say in a better way.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in those expansions, they are also both fairly available. The Feast for Crows second expansion you can get for about $24 on Amazon, and Dance with Dragons you can find for $12 to $20.
And cool. I think that's the most recent reprint. You can find that on like Cool Stuff and stuff like that pretty easily.
Yeah,
For about $12.50 each, right?
Yeah. They're the same as their like I don't know Netrunner LCG packs.
Yeah.
They're not much more than that. Don't pay double.
Yeah,
Fuck scalpers.
True. So, but yeah, I think that pretty much concludes our review of A Game of Thrones, the board game, second edition. So now, Zach, we had somebody comment on the BGG thread on our guild number 2731.
Yeah.
Over on Board Game Geek.
So Matt, he says, this game is highly referred to as the diplomacy killer from a lot of people I know. I've only played diplomacy online, so it's not as bad there as it is in real life.
You can't punch people.
No, I've heard
on
it
the
can
internet.
take many, many hours, like 10 plus, while this game may take up to 5 with a full boat. I've played this one once, but I would love to play again, especially since I actually know something a little about the source material. Unlike before, when I was just thought, who gives a shit? Wait, sorry, who gives a money sign, $, ampersand, pound sign,
we get it.
at about Game of Thrones?
We get it.
Can't wait to hear your thoughts on the show.
Should be money sign, pound
Has
symbol.
anyone played diplomacy?
No.
Nope. So we don't know if it kills diplomacy.
I'm going to say yes.
Killed it
though.
for me.
Yeah. I mean, because diplomacy, you need 7 people to play. So this is one less. Takes half the amount of time. And
Good God, how long
Already
is
own it.
diplomacy?
Yeah.
Long.
Was
I
that?
already own it, so.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure diplomacy, you have to control everything.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot more strict.
Yes. But yeah, it just killed a lot of other games. So why not diplomacy too?
Yep.
Indeed.
Right on. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you would like to participate in our review segments, be sure to join our Board Game Geek Guild. As I mentioned, it's guild number 2731. Zach posts upcoming episode review threads. Next week's review, we are going to be reviewing / comparing / contrasting Star Realms and Hero Realms.
Not Cthulhu Realms.
Because fuck that.
We might mention it.
Oh, I'm sure we'll mention it. It's just, yeah.
Unison, fuck that. That's
we're-
the only mention.
Yeah.
We're mainly comparing and contrasting Hero Realms and Star Realms.
The ones by White Wizard Games? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
White Wizard
correct.
Games.
So Zach will have a thread up for that over on our guild. If you'd like to interact with us in other ways, you can always send us emails.
At emails@milehighgameguys.com.
We are also all three pretty active over on Twitter. I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
And I am Jeff_MHGG.
You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook @MileHighGameGuys. And if you would like to support the show financially, we have a Patreon with some pretty cool rewards. Patreon.com/MileHighGameGuys.
Every dollar counts.
Every dollar does count. And we'll only make fun of you if your name's Eric.
Or if you pledge $1.
$1. Yeah.
But we'll work with you to make fun of you.
Yeah.
If you want to be made fun of, pledge $1.
Unless you're
let us
Eric,
know.
in which case we'll just do it.
We'll just do
without
it. Yeah.
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 acknowledge
You dug your own grave.
Yeah. Ant, is there any way people can get a hold of you if they want to interact with you in awesome ways?
My Twitter is barrel_overlord, because I am the barrel overlord of Epic Brewing. And if you are interested in playing Blood Bowl, my email is denverbloodbowl@gmail.com.
Everyone should be interested in Blood Bowl.
Yeah. You also run a Reddit league, right?
I run the Reddit League, which is on Fumble, and I don't know how to really interact with me on that one. Just hit me a message on Fumble.
Yeah, so get a hold of him somehow, and he'll...
If you're desperate enough, you know.
You'll find a way.
Yeah.
Just message every single person until you get an answer.
Yes.
Our Facebook group is the Denver Kill. DENVERKIL.
Karak Anor Invitational League.
You don't need an invitation.
No.
Just join.
Yeah. It's pretty much open.
Don't ruin our theme.
Kill.
All right. Well, thanks, Ant, for joining us for our 2 episodes this week. It's a
Indeed.
pleasure having you on the show.
Yes, it was.
As always,
Beer.
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 Thank you to everybody for listening. We really appreciate all of our listeners, especially those who interact with us through all of the aforementioned methods.
Oh, we will interact back, all right.
Oh, will we? Yeah, hope you all enjoyed this episode, and we will be back next week. Till then, as always, I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Maester Jeff.
Not Grant and Maester?
No, just Maester.
Okay.
And we have Barrel Overlord Ant.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Game of Thrones 2nd Edition.
The board game.
The board game.
Because there's a card game that's a second edition. So.
Absolutely.
Yes.
LCG.
All kinds of confusing going on. But, so the game we're going to be reviewing, as was mentioned, Game of Thrones, the board game from Fantasy Flight Games.
Second edition.
Well, I didn't want to say Fantasy Flight there anyway.
Yeah. We also
Already cutting.
Punchboard Media, where we all
Bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.